But first, on the Punters Lounge Live, we take you to Sydney, and long time no talk with Brad Gray. Great to have you back on the Punters Lounge Live. Brad, how are you keeping?
Good, thank you, Aidan. Yeah, it's good to chat. I know we're on the cusp of a big day when I'm chatting to you, so that's always exciting. Obviously, a very different scene to what we saw last Saturday, where this was rain-drenched. As you can see behind me, that sun is absolutely blazing down today. We're on a soft 7 at the moment. There is a school of thought that we could get even a little bit better than that, which is unheard of given what the week we've had in terms of rain. So happy days, massive days racing, 5 Group 1s, and we'll do our best to find the punters a winner or two.
Absolutely. Days like this, how much time do you stick into the form, Brad?
Yeah, a lot. One of the interesting tricks, though, this week was we had to do the form for this meeting. Obviously got postponed. The nominations were reopened again. And then you're looking at the same pool of horses with a few extras, a few Victorians have been added, different barriers and different track conditions. So one of the tricks was trying to treat each race with a blank slate, I guess you could say, because you have those preconceived thoughts of thinking, well, I've already found this horse. But as you know, it's not as simple as that. So some horses have been disadvantaged or advantaged in terms of these track upgrades.
Yeah, absolutely. Just tell us about conditions. What is that track looking like for the meeting?
It looks amazing. I'm no track expert and I haven't got out there and walked it myself, but as far as condition goes, it's a lovely coverage of grass. We're on a 7 at the moment. Apparently we're on the worst side of 7, so maybe we won't get to a 6, but that's a really good result. And Rosehill's been playing so fairly recently that I'd expect every horse to get their chance regardless of whether they've drawn in or out.
Okay, let's get you through the Group 1s with Brad giving us his thoughts. The Rambit kicks us off, the 4th of the card, over the 2,000 metres, and the market saying these two horses dominating. 225 around a Deb and 260 Very Elegant. Which way would you go?
I've gone with a Dave. So we're going to have a look at a replay shortly, I believe, of last year's Rambit. If it lives up to this race, we're in for another treat, aren't we? This was the day where Very Elegant just cruised up on the outside of him and you thought, well, she's going to blow him away and win by a length or two. He knuckles down. His last 200 metres this day was not only the fastest in the race, but the fastest across the entire meeting. So we've seen enough of him now to know that his strength is his ability to sustain his sprint. He's a bit of a juggernaut. There was a bit of drama late yesterday and this morning in terms of him getting a 1 out of 5 lame reading, but he's been past a fit. He's good to go, and if he turns up in this vein of form, geez, he's mighty hard to beat. And I know that there's a few people out there saying, well, Very Elegant's come back a better horse. Well, who's not to say that a Dave hasn't come back better again as well? Of course, his overseas form since we saw him last year is very, very good. So top-class horse. He's actually the top-ranked horse in the world at the moment, so it's a bit of a treat for him to have him here on Australian shores again.
Absolutely. How much of an advantage, though, is that Very Elegant has that recent race fitness when we haven't seen him since his Champions Stakes win back in October?
Yeah, it was the same setup as last year. So William Haggis and the team would know what they'd be doing in terms of pouring the work into him. It's going to be a tactical little race. We saw there in the replay that last year, Very Elegant, James McDonald, they tried to go toe-to-toe with him from the 600 or the 800 metre mark. It'd be interesting to see what they do this time because I think maybe the best way to beat him is to ambush him as opposed to get into a dogfight. So if they just trail him into the straight at the 150, pop off his back and try and sprint a little bit too quick for him, maybe that's the best way to beat him. But at the end of the day, he's got a 2-0 verdict on Very Elegant already, and that's hard to ignore.
Absolutely. Move you on to the second of the Group 1s, and this is the Rosehill Guineas. And you talk about the change in dynamics. One of those is that the Kiwi horse, Milford, gets to start here at 18 and 480. The money with Moonga. Lions Roar was good last time out, and Grand Slam right in this as well. How'd you see it?
I've gone with Montefilia here just on price alone. She's right down the bottom there, number 15 at the $7 quote. Now, she was potentially a touch flat first up in the Surround Stakes, but we'll go back to the Spring Champion, and this was only 5 months ago that she beat Lions Roar. So that time ties in really nicely. David Payne's said all along that she's returned a horse that just needs a trip, and we did see that first up. Although she was beaten a long way, she did have the second fastest closing splits of all the fillies. So that says to me that she just wants this trip. Yeah, she jumped 1,400 metres to 2,000, but she's a natural stayer. And just if you need a reminder, look at her strength late here. She tails up Lions Roar, wins going away, and we saw that horse come out and win the Randwick Guineas. Yamawanga's a big hope, but he's the type of horse that's going to get back. He's going to need a little bit of luck. $2.80, I think he's skinny enough. I think he's more about the $3.50 pop. He is the horse to beat, but on price alone, I think Montefilia is worth a little gamble at each way odds here, Aidan.
Sounds good to me. On to the third of those Group 1s, the George Ryder, and we get to the 1,500 metres and a really good quality lineup here as well. Villiers comes up a $4 favourite, Colding at $6.50. You've got $9.50 around Star of the Seas and Mizzy, and Fun Star. We just spoke to Tommy Berry, who rates him as third best ride on the program. How did you measure this?
Yeah, Missy just keeps being underestimated, doesn't she? I haven't got her in the top 4, but now I've said that, she's probably going to come out and do something. But Avilius, for me, I know it's a long time between drinks. It's been 14 runs since he last won a race, but we're going to have a look at his Chipping Norton Stakes return. And this, to me, was shades of Avilius of old, where he just showed that sparkling turn of foot. He was first up here. And when you're talking about finishing close alongside the likes of Very Elegant, Colette, who, of course, are going around in the Rambit Stakes, I think that ties in really nicely. Fun Star and Colding with the two up the fence. They're the two he'll have to beat again, but he's just got a sense of timing about him. He loves Randwick. He's had 5 starts here, 3 wins and a couple of placings. And although he would have been better placed last week on a bottomless heavy 10, I think there's still enough juice in this track to think that he can bounce back and get that duck out of the way as far as the drought goes, because it has been a while. I think it's been 19 months since he last won a race, but he won't get a better chance than today. So fingers crossed the Villiers can do it for us.
Absolutely, and onto the feet to the Golden Slipper. It's a different type of race this year, isn't it? For me, it's really tough going through and just really finding one that's superior. Profiteer comes up favourite at 380, stay inside 480, 4 moves ahead 550, Artorias 850, and of course James McDonald, the Kiwi jock, on Home Affairs there at 14s. What did you make of first of all, the strength of the race, Brad?
Yeah, I've never seen a slipper like this, Aiden. So you've only got one horse here who's undefeated, which is a little bit unusual in itself, and that's the filly 4 moves ahead. But you look at the market here, you've got Shakiro, a Magic Millions winner, and a Breeders' Plate winner at $21. You've got Kalashnikov, who won the Black Oval at $41. You've got the Blue Diamond trifecta, all touching double figures. So it's a fascinating little race to break it all down. Then you're assessing the Todman Stakes in terms of the merit of each runner there. I'm with Stay Inside. We're going to have a look at the Piero Plate win, and the advantage this horse has is not only he races more like a 3 or a 4-year-old. He's an absolute pro. You can see him just tucking in behind the speed, but he can quicken in wet ground. And this was a soft 7. And look at the way he does this. He just accelerates through the ground. James McDonald shakes his head at the end of this race just in amazement at how easy he did it. Now, he didn't beat much this day. However, he did it in style. He ran good time. And his Todman run last time out was a complete forgive. They went back. They didn't get out until very, very late, and the bird had flown. But I'd be surprised if this horse doesn't come out and run a new peak, a career peak. And if he does that, I think he's really hard to beat. And if you're shopping at each way odds, I'd be very, very surprised if he's not running top 3.
Does it surprise you that James didn't stick with the horse on the back of that he has gone, against and teamed up with Home Affairs here?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think that's something to do with politics as well. You can go crazy trying to read too much into the jockey moves, can't you? But obviously, his bread is buttered with the Chris Waller stable, so I imagine that allegiance would have a lot to do with that booking. You don't lose anything with Tommy Berry, do you?
No, absolutely. And Sir Peter Vella, also among the owners, who's been a big influence on James McDonald's career as well. On to the Galaxy, the sprint, and we've got some absolute firepower here. I had a chat with James earlier in the week. He thought Hawkbury on Her was his best of the day. 420. What about you? How'd you measure this?
Yeah, and with Talier, it is a good race, and the thing you notice, as you'd expect, 1,100 metres Group 1, is just the speed here. They are going to run very, very quickly in the early stages. Eduardo will be up there, and I'll go right down the page in terms of horses that have got plenty of toe. Hawkbury on Her is a danger. I was actually speaking to Toby Liston, who bred Hawkbury on Her a couple of weeks ago, and he said that she's put 100 kilos on in her spell. So she's come back in beast mode. This is Talier from a couple of starts ago. Last time out, yes, she was a little bit disappointing, but I think the key to this replay is we saw Talier ridden with a sit, and she had that last crack at them, and she blitzed the field. Now, if she's ever going to beat a horse of Hawkbury on Her's quality, or even Eduardo for that matter, it is with today's setup. 51 kilos, hard fit, lovely mat, and with those runs under her belt, as I alluded to, I think she just gets that stalking trail. The cut out of the ground suits, but if you are taking the quad, certainly throw Hawkbury on Her in there as well. But Talier, for me, I think it's her day.
Just tell us, by that stage, what could this track look like? Will it hold up pretty well, or will they really be cutting into it a bit?
I think it'll hold up really well. Yeah, I think that's the plus of having a couple of really good drying days. It was a little bit windy there yesterday, which helps as well. Today's very still, but the sun is beating down on this track, so I think it'll hold together really well. And as I alluded to, they did a few things to this track probably in the last month or so in terms of helping the drainage, and it's done wonders. This track is playing absolutely brilliantly, so I expect it to hold together. I expect the winners to be coming from everywhere, so hopefully the punters can butter up with plenty of confidence on what's maybe one of the biggest days in Australian racing.
Absolutely. We've got your thoughts on all the Group 1, so they're marked down as bets already, but what about the undercard? Is there something we need to look at from a Brad Gray push?
Oh, I've made Talia the best of the day in the Galaxy,
Okay.
but I think you can have something on Dedue's Dart in the staying race, the Manion Cup. That's race 2 for Team Hawks. Tommy Berry rides again, $6.50, so it's been a little bit of a trim up, and I think rightly so. 2,400 metres, he's been looking for this trip. He's just going to park in behind what looks a pretty genuinely run race, and I don't think he's the best horse in the race, but I think he's the best suited, and that's what matters when it comes to finding winners.